graduated 3 weeks ago. You have clients now. Is that correct?
Yep. So right now I have three firm clients and two more perspectives. So my name is Mike Knickerbocker. I am a naval officer that's getting ready to retire. And as I was looking at industry that I'm interested in transitioning into, business development in the federal space was there. So I tried to look at different programs. I'd followed you on YouTube for a while and on LinkedIn. So immediately when I saw the GovClose program had been established, I think I got in about 2, 3 months after you started it. And it was a no brainer for me just based off what I had seen from your previous content.
Okay, great. So a career in the Navy. Why don't you tell me a little bit about, and everybody listening, a little bit about that. What did you do in the Navy? What was your career and maybe some of the highlights there?
So I am a surface warfare officer. So I am a ship guy. I specialize in not being specialized. So I have been on a series of ships, including in Japan, San Diego, and where I am now, Norfolk, Virginia, including a frigate, destroyers. And then my last ship was actually the aircraft carrier, the Gerald R. Ford. So I've done everything from owning small boats and helicopter landing teams to combat systems, physical security, weapons, networks to hot water, air conditioning, and elevators.
Yeah.
So the extremely varied and just absolutely not focused or specialized career path. But what it did do is gave me a breadth and depth of knowledge across different areas and understanding program offices and all the pieces and parts that go to make a ship and then the enterprise at large work. And then right now, I currently am at the Naval Safety Command. So I do occupational safety and health assessments, but then I also do operational risk assessments. So looking at daily behaviors, how they impact readiness, and then looking for weaknesses in the man, train, equip, and sustainment phases for the fleet to be ready for the high-end fight. So understanding the deck plate level to the strategic level and what those potential gaps and seams in the enterprise are, which I think helps me look at solicitations even outside the Navy to understand what the larger problem they're getting at, and then being able to find technology that is the best fit and trying to go and get them connected to the right folks to help my fellow warfighters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people outside of the military have a great appreciation for just how broad a experience you can have in the military working in different things. Many might not even know that there is such a thing as a SWO, or that a military officer might be doing the jobs that you've been doing. So analysis at that level and being able to identify, you talked about the gaps and do a behavioral analysis, being able to dive into data that affects so many people in the military, especially with a critical mission attached to it and the amount of money being spent and everything else, and then turning that analysis into something that you could objectively put into action and make a difference. But just that in and of itself is an incredible type of experience to have in your background. And now that you're approaching, is it the 20-year mark or is it a
Correct.
little bit more? So you're getting ready to transition, and a lot of military, especially when they get to that point, they're usually in their early 40s and they're looking to retire from their first profession. Sometimes they go into a regular job back with the government, but a lot of military veterans, especially, are very entrepreneurial. And so you've started taking a look at some of the things you've learned in the Navy, some of the government contracting experience that you've had that you've been exposed to, and then you decided with GovClose to go through our certification program. And with the objective of maybe learning a little bit more about how a company sells to the government, how the data works on this side of things, and turning that into your own consulting business. Is that correct?
Correct. So it's one of those things where I've approached so many different problems. And obviously with each job I went to and within each job, every day was a little bit different, which is what drew me to consulting and was one of the other differentiators for the GovClose program versus other options, was the fact that there was the module on setting up and running your own consulting business. Cause I like getting to deal with a diverse and varied group of people and different problem sets every day because it keeps it dynamic and fluid and allows me to do what I do best, which is deep dive into something, solve the problem, and then move on to the next problem. So I was very excited for that element in the GovClose program. And what I'm looking forward to is I try to build my own brand and my own business while potentially going after a straight job, at least in the beginning, while I continue to grow and learn and broaden my horizons and reach.
Yeah. And it's a great point because that's something else that a lot of the people that go through the program do. It's something that I did also, which is once you have that skill set, using that and leveraging it not only for consulting work, but also potentially high paying BD or sales executive job with a company that sells to the government. And there's lots of different jobs within that, but we have a lot of results there as well. Speaking of the program, could you talk a little bit about what was your experience going through the modules? Like what was the most valuable for you, the modules, weekly coaching, et cetera? And what are some of your takeaways?
So I think the best thing for me was learning all the different websites like USA Spending and how to go through those to, one, identify what the historical trends are, to identify who the competitors are in a space, and to be able to build out a data set that you can analyze to see here's where the opportunities are, here's where your competitors are. Because I had some rudimentary understanding in how to use SAM.gov, but I'd not really been exposed to or really used the other websites. So like USA Spending and Fed Acquisition, and then getting into the long range analysis. So I've been a operational and strategic planner for a long time. So the ability to build a plan that's looking at 6, 12 months to 6 years is something that I found absolutely fascinating. And the module showed me how to get there and how to put together those products. And I've been a products generation guy almost my entire career, but learning to go to tools outside, like learning about Canva and how to use that to make things that are more aesthetically pleasing. Because even though I build a lot of PowerPoints and presentations, it was usually black and white, one header, but learning that now it's about branding. It's about bringing in attention and not just giving the facts as you transition from briefing flag officers to corporate executives. So I thought all that really flowed well in understanding each phase, like how SAM.gov works, how to get registered, then going through the different tools to get the data you need to do manual analysis, and then how to put that all together in a package in order to provide a value-added service to companies that are either trying to grow or get into federal contracting.
Yeah, no, I thought that, and thanks for that, by the way. I think that one of the most important things, and we try to hit it in the program, is no matter, you could be the world's greatest subject matter expert. You could have a business that developed the world's greatest technology, but if you can't sell, you don't have a business, right? So I know there's a lot of courses, there's a lot of things out there, but we work really hard at making sure that we're not just teaching you how to sell to the government, but if you're going to be running your own consulting business, you need to know how to sell your services to other companies, right? How do you get leads? How do you put a project together or a product that you're going to sell? How does it get packaged? So I think you touched on a lot of that. And yeah, no, I think it's really important. And I'm glad that was one of your takeaways. Let's talk about the timeline. How long did it take you to get through everything?
The GovClose certification is generating tremendous results.
So 27 years old, you've never worked in government contracting, you've never worked as a consultant, and you just closed your first deal. Is that correct?
That's fair. And I've got a couple small projects on the side as well. So definitely probably my best investment I've made all year.
It would be my second post on how a cold call landed a 9-figure government contract. My name's Gavin Tice.
So my name is Ethan Mart. When I was able to enroll into the GovClose program, it just exceeded all my expectations and really has provided a lot of valuable learnings and insights that I would not have found on my own.
I was able to get a consulting gig with a software company that currently works with the intelligence community. Hi, I'm Deb Diller-Harris.
If you want to learn how to sell to the government, if you want to learn how to start your own consulting business, if you want to learn the skills that you need to go land a six-figure plus account executive job with big companies selling to the government, the certification program is for you. Head on over to govclose.com, check out our certification program, talk to the team. You won't regret it.
So I took just under 2 months to get through everything, but I was off work recovering from surgery, so I had no day job.
Right.
So I was able to push through. But I found everything like very straightforward, able to listen to the old coaching calls and listen to the videos while I was, sitting outside of cheerleading practice and all those opportunities. Cause, taking those down times and instead of doom scrolling on my phone, I was able to do, 45 minutes to an hour and a half of micro learning every day. So it was super easy to listen to. I listened to a lot of the lectures more than once. Like I'd listen to it on my way driving into work. Then when I would come home, I'd listen to it again while actually going through and doing it. And then sometimes I'd even listen to it a third time. The first time I tried to do it on my own, I would go refresh on it and then go through and build my product after having listened to it a second or third time. The other thing I would say that GovClose has brought that I don't know what other programs do or don't do, but the coaching calls have been awesome. And the level of support in, hey, here's the things that I'm still not sure on after completing the curriculum that you and your team have been so awesome to help with. And then I hate the term community, but there is a GovClose community, and I have exchanged emails, numbers, and messages with 6 or 7 other people in the program, sharing leads, sharing resources. The board that we have in the community page has been very helpful. And hey, this is what I learned and figured out, and being able to point people towards like the things I know to use and then getting other stuff from them. And it's been fantastic and able to leverage each other's different experiences to a rising tide lifts all ships. And it really is a collective effort for individual success.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I even learned from that community page, and I'm probably like you, right? Like, oh, there's so many different community groups out there. But when it comes to business, especially this business, it is so vast as far as how many companies and technologies and industries could sell to the government. I shouldn't even say technologies; it's industry services, anything you could think of. And the people that are in the program, which, by the way, go through a pretty decent vetting process, they're really strong and have really interesting backgrounds, right? So like you have this amazing background in the Navy doing a lot of different things. We have other people that have come from like pure, like professional salesmen in different industries. We have other people that have been engineers and have done like all these various jobs, cyber and IT, that when they come together, we're now able to because you have leads come in from, it could be from anywhere, right? It could be a IT company that needs help with CMMC, or it could be a company that needs help selling to the Navy. And we have one of our consultants that doesn't know what a SWO is and doesn't know what some of the terminology is that they're using. Now they can reach out to you and you guys can collaborate on different projects and vice versa. So I find that very helpful. And I put things in there all the time for a lot of the students as far as like sharing leads and information and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that right now with somebody that has no military background from the program, teaching them about shipbuilding and ship repair and the organization as they were operating in the same space, but there's so much opportunity and room out there. Plus they're West Coast, not East Coast. So there's geographic divide. But for me, part of it, yes, there's always the, like, I have to pay my bills, but it's also about making sure that the DoD that I've given more than 20 years of my life, and I'm actually 6th generation and grew up a Army brat. So almost my entire life has been around the military in one way or another. And so finding a way to help other people that are experts in other areas and have these different clients and leads that can ultimately improve the competitiveness of our defense team is very important to me. So like, I love the fact that this is a very varied group, like very diverse group of experiences and backgrounds, and learning from them, teaching them, learning from you, trying to teach you a trick or two. Cause the Air Force sometimes has their head in the clouds. So you can help ground it, but not in a crash sort of way.
Oh my word.
Yeah, no, I love the camaraderie and the competitiveness between the Navy and the Air Force and the Army and the Marines. It's funny. It's something we don't talk about too much. I don't talk about too much, at least in like the social media and the YouTube stuff. But yeah, I mean, all of this, when we talk about government contracting, the DoD is a huge, if not primary part of that as far as clients that are selling to. And so what I tell people is we're teaching you a skill set that most people just don't have. That's why it's so in demand. That's why you guys are all generating results. Most people just don't understand how to sell to the government. And also, we're not just teaching you how to sell to the government. You're learning how it really works. It means that you have the ability to help a company, good or bad, sell something to the government and give them the competitive advantage over others. And so what I tell people in the coaching calls is you need to make sure that when you have a client, that's actually a client that you should be helping, right? Because you don't want, I've had plenty of people reach out to me and like, they have a mediocre product. They don't really give a shit. They're in it for the money. And I don't help those people because I don't want that person. I don't want that mediocre thing in the hands of the military, certainly, right? I want companies, small businesses, large businesses, if they have a high-end, amazing product or solution, that's what I want my military to have, right? Not the crap. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an amazing skill set. And then we have to be good judges of who we decide to help and not help. And, when you have leads coming in and when your skill set is in demand, you have the ability to be selective.
Yeah. And, it is nice to be able to be discerning because I told my wife the other day that I have 20 plus years, but I still feel in some cases as I get ready for transition that I'm entry level on my experience outside, but getting the support of my command to start doing this now, 6 months out from retirement, I am honestly already working through a lot of those apprehensions and nerves of leaving what I've done for 20 years to go into the civilian sector. And this program has made it really easy to be able to leverage the skills that I built in the military into something that I can monetize. Like I've already had interviews with multiple companies that have seen what I'm doing on LinkedIn, looked at my website, wanting to talk to me about my approach. In some cases, it's bred more of a mutually beneficial partnerships with other consulting firms or having some potential job offers out there that has taken a lot of the nerves away from me as I enter into the relative unknown. Because as much as you can prepare, you can't interview for a job 6 to 12 months in advance. And I don't have any experience selling or closing deals. And now I have a structured education. I have a accredited, backed by performance certification course. And I'm actually able to get out there and show people what I can do, what I learned. For me, I struggled in picking a niche and you really helped me narrow that down, even though the funny thing is one of my current clients is actually within that niche and people that I know personally have kept reaching out to me and I'm working with a construction company, an IT company, a network system installer, and a machine and fab shop. And so I'm able to provide value across different industries because the skill set that I learned through the course and was able to apply my own experience just equipped me to be able to take any problem set and go, which is why I struggled with the niche because I was like, man, I could do anything, but I am having some early success and it is challenging still being new. And so the conversation I have with people is I can't have a mediocre product. Because if I'm going to be new and I'm going to charge money for this, I need to add value. And so I'm really working on kind of hey, this is what I'm going to give you. And if it's not adding the value to you, we're going to get it right. And part of that is really built up some loyalty and trust from my initial clients. Because if the first run of the product's not right, I take their feedback and I go and I get it right. That way, as I move on to the next one, my next product is better. And I'm able to deliver first turn yield products to future clients. So it's been an iterative process, but so far, like I've gotten a lot of trust and referrals from all my other clients that are helping me grow this thing. And it's just been a great experience so far.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. That's amazing. First of all, that's awesome. And what you're talking about results, right? So how long, so it took you 2 months to get through the program. And how long now have you been out of it? You graduated when? It was a couple weeks ago, I think. 2 or 3 weeks ago, or was it
Uh,
more?
yeah, about three. No.
3 weeks ago. And so you were talking about clients. So you have clients now. Is that correct?
Yep. So right now I have 3 firm clients and 2 more perspectives. And then I had 3 folks I talked with that, gave them some initial information and then going to recircle in 2 to 3 months. So, some warm leads out there and then continuing to get better at, the lead generation. Once I've gotten the conversations, I've felt pretty comfortable in what I present, and the transparency that I've brought has built a lot of trust in people saying, hey, like, I'm going to admit I'm new, but I have a skill set and you're going to see that skill set add value, which is one of the things I emphasize on. Hey, that's why this is a flat rate and buy a project, because you're going to pay me for the value I bring. And then you're going to be enriched by the value that you bring to the government customer. So let's go find you those government customers. And I'm not out there trying to tack on win fees to everything. There are some structures that may make more sense for both parties. But for the most part, like, I like being able to do project by project basis, charge them what is commensurate for the value I'm going to bring to them, and then allow them to pursue and gain contracts based on the value of their product or service.
Yeah. So that's incredible. You've been out for 3 weeks. You have 3 clients. You have 2 more in the hopper ready to come on. You've interviewed with several companies for full-time positions. Obviously, we've been working together too on different things that, as you've been looking at different clients, some of the products that you put together in the program are some of the first things you can sell to a client as well, which I think helps a lot of the students.
So my first client was who I was targeting when I started the course and saw what the course requirements were. So I did all of my course requirements building products for who was my first target customer, because I was familiar with leadership in that company. They were local to me, so I could meet with them in person. So being able to go through and build that first product and get feedback from you helped me to be able to very confidently go into that first meeting. So I thought the program was great for that. Okay, let me identify who I think my first target client's going to be. And then I'll go through the program and get time to build those products, get them right, get them smooth, get them reviewed, and then be able to take that to the first client to start bringing in some revenue. So then I could start expanding into supporting the business operations to grow by operation.
Well, that's great because we designed it that way. So what you're actually doing in the course is all usable, very usable products that you'd be putting together to actually sell, right? What are you actually going to do when you work with a company and help them sell to the government? And I think what you're talking about is when we start going into developing a niche, building a roadmap. It's really, how do you help a company in a particular industry sell to the government? And how do you analyze how the government spends and translate that into a step-by-step approach for that business? So you're able to utilize that and close your first clients. And the fact that you have 3 already and more coming, I think is pretty amazing. And one thing I'll say about that too is, because you talked about charging by the project, when you're selling something, this is my experience. When you're selling, if what you're selling, especially if it's a service or if it's consulting, but even a product or software tool, if that thing or service helps a company make more money, that's like the top tier, right? Because if a company can see how this is going to equal more revenue for us, well, now you have a very clear way of looking at metrics that are improving your client's financial health, essentially, right? And government contracting, there's so much money spent that immediately when you are working with a company, especially if they've never sold to the government, right? So if you go to a small business and you can show them the data doesn't lie, if the average small business in construction makes $2.7 million a year, well, you have a very clear goal of how you can help them and you can show them that. So if your services can equal $2.7 million a year if they follow what you're telling them to do, well, how much is that worth to them, right? How much can you charge for that? You can charge a lot. Some consultants charge 10% of whatever it is they think they're going to bring in for that company. Now, I think that the amount of value we offer is so disproportionate to what we're charging, meaning we charge a fraction of that, right? In many industries, you can make a hell of a lot more than $2 million a year. If you're in cyber, security, IT, some of these companies are doing $10, $20 million a year in government contracting, and we're giving them the roadmap to do that. So you charge a lot. We don't charge by the hour. We charge by the project. And I think that's also something, that people need to learn, because when you are a subject matter expert in something like this, an expertise that is rare and complex, you do not want people paying you for your time, right? Your time, it's not your time that's valuable, it's the knowledge in your head. So if I can tell a company what to do and it's going to win them $1 million contract, it doesn't matter if it took me 40 hours to put something together for them or 4 minutes, right? The result is the same. And that's what companies are paying for, is the results. That's why I like charging by the project. And you also mentioned you could do project fees. There's a time for that. It just depends on what your niche is, right? What are you helping them to do? A lot of sales executives that are full-time with a company or helping them monthly generate leads, close deals, they will have a percentage as well as a fee.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's figuring out like what the right fit is. And I think the other thing, going through all the different approaches in the coaching calls and in the program, is it's not cookie cutter. So my structures with each of the different clients, depending on what they need and what I'm doing, it's tailoring the products to them and not just trying to be a roadmap factory where I'm putting no thought into it. It's actually getting in, learning about the client, what their business is, what they need. And I think the biggest thing I've been able to tell them is, I had one client where I did a project, a deep dive on them on one potential contract opportunity for a specific platform type. And I came back to them after 2 weeks and said, hey, running all the numbers, you're not competitive for this, but based on your product, this is actually a better opportunity for you. And this is what it looks like. But it was one of those, like, they were going to have to modify their core products so much to fit this, that the engineering cost and the cost of changing their product just wasn't going to be worth it when there was something else out there that better fit them. And being able to find that and put that together quickly, and sometimes tell them like, hey, this isn't it. Like, you paid me to do this project for you. And I said, hey, let's have a talk, because the project is at a state where this is the wrong project. Let's talk about what the right project looks like. And now I'm going back and redoing that so that they can get what they paid for. And we're actually going through something that's going to benefit the company in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, it is worth it. I tell companies all the time, if you're paying me a fee to help you sell to the government, and I tell you you're on the wrong path, like, you just saved yourself a lot of time and a hell of a lot more time and money than you spent on me advising you, right? Very rarely, sometimes it happens where there's a company where the government just doesn't spend enough for them to be selling to the government. That's worth it too. Considering how long it takes to sell to the government, being able to eliminate that as a revenue stream, you need to know who your target customer is, right? Government buys almost everything. So it's very rare that I find a company that actually there isn't considerable spending on the government side and we figure out a way to sell to them, but it can happen. And like I said, it did once in the past 5 years. And it's just knowing that companies know that you're going to be honest with them and they appreciate that honesty, right? So we're tied to their results. So as a consultant, you need your client to be successful in order for you to be successful, because your reputation really drives, like you said, you're already getting referrals from the clients you're working with. So your reputation will drive results. And speaking of which, what's the name of your business? Where'd you name yourself?
So my business is KBR Advising LLC. KBR is short for my last name, Knickerbocker, which is part of the reason, like, when your name's Mike Knickerbocker, there's not a whole lot of you out there. So being honest, being transparent, and because your reputation is going to be easy to find you. It's not that hard to know who you're talking about.
Right.
The name Mike Knickerbocker, so I can't hide. So I got to stand out in front of it.
Oh yeah. And what is your website? How can they get to your website and contact you?
So my website is www.kbradvisingllc.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Mike Knickerbocker or KBR Advising LLC.
Perfect. And what type of company should be looking at you to help them? What is your niche and who can you help?
So my niche is helping small manufacturing, specifically machining and welding shops, to be able to sell to the government either for the first time or new. There is a lot of hurdles to it, but there's a lot of opportunity out there to provide the pieces, parts, and materials that are needed because there's so many shortages on what you think are relatively simple things that it can take from a guy being on ships, like something as simple as a fabricated hard life rail can sometimes be delayed because the primary shops in the fleet concentration area are backed up. So there's opportunity for machine and fab shops in especially rural areas to be able to balance out their shop loading, keep their people working, and fabricate products to ship to the government to then be installed by potentially a third party or ship's force or in any other branch of the military. Like there's a lot of hardware that needs to be fabricated and machined, and we don't necessarily have the capacity in the shops that are adjacent to fleet concentration areas and other installations.
Oh man, that's great. So, I mean, look, you're helping these shops bring in more work and keep going. Shops are helping the Navy and the different military units by having another option to produce some of those materials. And they're helping you as well. So it's a nice little circle of life there that you've got for yourself and being able to use your expertise from the military to help them in conjunction with what you've learned with us. So I'm really happy with your performance in the program. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the rest of the results that I'm sure are going to come in here over the next 2 years. Because, you know, like I've said in other podcasts and YouTube videos, and of course in our coaching calls, is you're always talking with these great companies, with the CEOs, with the engineers, and you don't know what kind of opportunities are going to come your way, right? It could be getting a job with a big defense company like one of our students just did. It may be getting a partnership in a holding firm or being made CEO of a business. There's so many different things that could come your way. It's really exciting. And I just wanted to thank you for being part of the program and staying part of the community, because once you're certified, you remain part of the community. So our certified members are very active on the community pages and in the coaching calls. And we all have that network where we're just building something and moving forward together.
It's one way to continue to be one team, one fight. And I greatly appreciate everything you put together with the program and what you share and how you've become a super connector of sorts.
I love it. I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn page. Maybe get a new domain name, the Super Connector. Hey, Mike Knickerbocker, thanks for joining GovClose and thanks for joining us on the podcast today. Everyone listening, you can find Mike. I'll put the website and his LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So you can go out, reach him if you're, like you said, a manufacturing company, small manufacturing company. Hey, even a big manufacturing company, if you're looking to sell to the U.S. government, if you want to see what that opportunity looks like for you, Mike is the guy to go to. And if you are listening on YouTube, you want to see some new episodes, just go into the comments, put the types of topics you'd like us to talk about in there.